Hey, what's up? What's up? The light is red. Good afternoon or good evening, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another live episode of the Cheíí Show. It is currently 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Oh man, does it feel good to be back on the air. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, one and all tuning in far and near. I want to know what's good, I want to know what's different, and I want to know what's new. Hello, hello, hello. While we let everybody pour on in, welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you are unfamiliar with the Cheíí Show and you're brand new here, this is a Q&A web series that I have founded. I'm the co-host. And, you know, the whole mission and the whole platform, the whole basis of this platform is to educate, to encourage, and inspire Indigenous First Nations youth to achieve and strive for their goals and aspirations in life, whatever it may be. And how we do this is by interviewing and speaking with different Indigenous First Nations influencers across the board who are making big moves, who are changing headway and opening a lot of these doors for these youth to follow right behind, to go even further than the last person did. So I'm excited to have this next individual on the show. Please, I encourage each and every single one of you individuals to go on ahead, roll on through what we have to offer. We've interviewed different individuals across the board. Check them all out. Check out each and every single episode. And also, I want to mention that it's not just me who's going to be asking these questions. You, the viewers, tuning in right now with the popcorn in hand or chilling, snuggling up with your honey, you can ask the question. Or if you're a hardworking student like me, you who's got the laptop, the MacBook up, trying to do homework while I catch the latest episode of the Cheíí Show, you have the opportunity to ask your own questions towards the end. But before we go any further, I want to follow Indigenous First Nations customs and introduce myself in my original language. I want to say Yat Ashik Edo Shadina Ashe Taylor Begay and Ashke Yakiniat Sadina and Shon Pitahni Bashishink Ashadashache Kabaha Dashanelle Seth the cheat that Nasha. Go over there. For my nom the Nebazad speakers, I was merely introducing myself. I said hello, relatives, friends. My name is Taylor Begay. I am of these clans and I reside in Red Mesa, Utah. I belong to the Dene Nation, federally recognized as Navajo. But with that all being said, ladies and gentlemen, tuning in far and near, help me welcome to the show YouTuber, writer, artist, an all-around individual representing Turtle Island. I'm talking about none other than the one, the only, Lily Painter. Give a big old virtual round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Make some noise. Put your left hand and your right hand together real fast. Lily Painter. Ooh. She'll be joining us, I tell you. Well, that's all right. I invite each also. Oh man, I just got all sorts of announcements. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you to please come rejoin us again next week, 8 p.m. on Standard Time. Join us again Thursday, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 8 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time for next week's episode on Friday. We go live every Thursday. Let's do this again. Run the beat back, run the beat back. I hope everybody's enjoying themselves on this beautiful Friday night. Oh man. It's adding, it's going. Yeah, keep them likes up. Keep them likes up. Please don't forget to share and mention these lives to each and every single one of your friends, your moms, your dad, your uncle, your auntie.
Oh, we're upside down. Hold on. We're going to find a way to fix this.
Yes.
Let's see. There we go.
Hey.
I got it.
We got it. We got a show. Welcome.
Whee! We fixed it. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for accepting the invite. It's so good to see you, and it's very nice to meet you. How are you doing?
Oh, good. I'm whelmed, which is in between overwhelmed and just whelmed enough. But it's a good
Oh,
whelmed. It's where the productivity happens.
productively whelmed.
How are you doing?
Productively whelmed.
Productively well.
Not whelmed, not overworked, just productively whelmed.
Just productively whelmed. I love it.
Oh, man. So how have you been? And oh, before we go any further, could you please introduce yourself? Tell the people who you is, because I'm sure you can do it better than I can.
Kira on Lily Painter Akon, Paul Getoa Akoikon. Hi, my name is Lily Painter. My name is also brings water from the river. I'm from the Kiowa tribe of Oklahoma, and I'm an enrolled member of the Winnebago tribe in Nebraska. I'm 20 years old. I'm a student. I am a nerd. And I am here to have fun.
I like it.
We're
I
gonna get
like
lit.
it.
It's gonna be so great.
Oh, yes. Just the energy that I need on this Friday evening. Oh, man, we got a wicked show in store. Oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be
It's gonna be
good.
fun. You got a powwow
Yes.
MC voice, but like in a good way. You're introducing, you were like, Lily Painter. I was like, I need to dance in. Like it's grand entry time. We need to like get ready.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I have and I am a powwow MC, traveled, and any of you committees booking, young guy, hit me up. But that's besides the point. Tonight is not about me. Tonight is all about you, Ms. Painter, and everything that you're doing. A lot of people that you're affiliated with, they mentioned you in in my messengers. You gotta get Lily. You gotta get Lily. So,
That's
and
crazy.
looked you up, and man, what you're doing is pretty darn cool. I I like it. I like it. And if you could
Thanks.
please, I mean, if just tell us a little bit more about who and what you're involved with. I'm sure there's so much more underneath and besides what's posted.
Well, we'll start with the reason probably why you heard so much. Everyone like, oh my God, get Lily, which is insane to me. I can't believe people said that. Thank you to whoever requested. The current project right now, we are, and by we, I mean me and my brilliant animator, Josh. I don't know if he's on here. He should be on here. Hi, Josh. We are animating the Marvel Indigenous Voices comic that came out about 2 years ago. All Indigenous cast, Indigenous led, ally made. Josh, being an Afro-Caribbean man, it's great. And yeah, so the goal for that one is basically to just provide that representation, provide that artistic need that so many Native people have. You know, so many Native people have like inherent creativity and they don't really know what to do with it, or they're looking for outlets where they just want to have fun and express their creativity without having to hide their nativeness. And I feel like this project gives everyone a good space to do that. So that's what everyone, that's what the buzz about me is about lately. But
Oh man, that's so cool to bring that indigeneity to Marvel Comics. That's beast. That's beast.
yeah. What else? You said I was a YouTuber. I would say I heard that and I was like, YouTuber. I have one video, but I love talking to a camera. So maybe like YouTube is like something that will be later on. So I like making videos. I edit videos for, well, it was for a living, but I don't do that anymore. So I'm a video editor. That's fun.
What?
I do photography. Photography's fun. Writer. I do poetry. I like to write short stories. I like to
Mm-hmm.
write fan fiction. I like to write fantasy stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's just like there's a whole like wide range of stuff. I'm not sure how to like narrow it down.
A lot of projects and a lot of
Oh
things
yeah.
that you're involved with. Yes. And we can tell, and a lot of different individuals mentioned that. And that's why I was like, man, it's so cool to see this young individual, do something like that. Now, how did your love of creativity come about? Do you come from a family of artists, or Was it just like, hey, mom and dad, I'm gonna do this, and they're like, oh, okay.
They're like, oh, all right. No, it's funny because my mom always, anytime I'm doing something artistic, my mom is always like, she didn't get it from me, or she's like, that's not for me, Lil, that's not for me. I wouldn't say that like people before me were out doing like 100% artistic stuff with their life, but I think artistry has always been kind of like involved with Native culture in general. My grandpa, before he passed, was one of our prominent like language learners, always trying to teach the Kiowa language to the youth, to other Kiowa people. And I remember him distinctly always doing that with drawings and always illustrating like Kiowa stories and drawings. And I don't even know he could draw like that, but like he'd have huge poster boards of like our tricksters or like our origin stories drawn out in like ledger type of stuff. He'd do like fake ledgers on t-shirts for like the youth to do, stuff like that. So I think little aspects of that have always been in my family. But my own creativity, I could not even tell you where that started because it's always just been there. It's like the inherent part of me that I remember. I remember as far back as being like a 4-year-old in the 4-year-old program, and always, and I don't even want to know what I wrote in those notebooks, but having like a notebook with me and just like stories that were just chicken scratch or trying to do like art. And it was really bad, but it was like mountains looking types of stuff, just stuff like that. I'm a lifelong fan of anything TV or comic or media type of stuff like that. So I think that probably influenced a lot of it too. And again, as far back as I can remember, I don't really remember like a specific starting point for stuff like that.
So it was always there, but you just picked it up and latched onto it, and here you are now, huh?
Yeah, it's weird because like I don't really remember like a point where I actually started putting stuff out and kind of saying like, oh, here's something that you've always known was there, but now it's like, oh, it's something people want to look at or people would like to see. And that like sharing my writing with a few select people or starting to get into art class and doing art shows and stuff like that didn't start until middle school or so. So before that, it was really just, like I said, notebooks. I'm literally looking at like a pile of my old notebooks. They're like in a crate and they're from like 2005 and it says like Lily's notebook and my L is like backwards and everything.
Hey, the artistry.
Yeah,
Signature.
a real all squiggly.
Well, that's pretty darn cool. And it's always so fascinating to see young Indigenous people such as yourself, get into storytelling, because as Indigenous First Nations peoples, inherently and culturally, we are storytellers, narrative tellers. And, there's just so much more that goes into everything that we share. And again, it's just awesome to see this new project that you've got in the works, this animation Marvel Indigeneity, run and founded by Indigenous peoples. That's cool.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like, like I kind of touched on earlier, it is true. Like we are inherent storytellers. And like Taika Waititi said in his Oscar acceptance speech when he won, he was like, this is for all Indigenous kids. We are the original storytellers, and like, don't let anyone tell you different. So it's like, I really do believe that inherent, not just need, but ability to not just tell stories well, or not just tell stories, but tell them well. And in a media that's really, it's able to connect with other Native people from different nations, but also non-Native people. I really do think that is within like every single Native person. And it just needs like a little like kind push. Like, here's like the mother bird out of the nest. Like you can do it, go, I promise. Like I just really feel like with the right opportunity, every single Native person has the ability to do something like super cool.
Yeah. Now, what would you say was your push? Was it an individual? Was it an experience? What was your push that was like, okay, I know I can do this. I'm capable of this. But somebody was like, hey, you can do it better, or you can do it even on a bigger scale.
Quite honestly, it was probably spite. Half of the books on my shelf right here are fantasy, but they're fantasy written by mostly, well, not until very recently, white men. And then white women started bursting onto the scene being like, men don't have to be the only ones who write fantasy. We can do it too. But then again, it's still white. It's still white people using not just like general BIPOC characters as like story arcs to further a main character who's white storyline, but like not inherently tapping into what it is people of color have to offer stories and like rich cultures that they come from, and taking characters from different backgrounds and just not using them right in stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in freshman year and I read I was reading a Star Wars book, and I turned to my best friend, one of my best friends, and I was like, we could totally do something like this. And he was like, oh yeah, for sure. And I was like, this is easy, we could do this. I was like, look. And then so it became like a running joke from then on. Anytime a Star Wars show, or like some of like one of the many off-branch shows that they were doing at the time on like Cartoon Network and stuff, every time they do something that kind of related to a fantasy arc we wanted to do, we'd be like, they stole our idea. So like kind of like the pinnacle point of freshman year. Ooh, that hurt, excuse me. Being like, I know that I could do this, but I also know that I want to see a story that I am reflected in. And like from that point, I kind of started looking back at my old writings, and I stumbled upon this one. And I refer to this every time I apply for a fellowship, every time I go on to talk about something, blah, blah, blah. It's this story that I always come back to. I was in second or third grade. I was really, really young. And I was obsessed with knights and like Camelot and King Arthur. By the way, I cried when I found out King Arthur was not a real person. So literally I was like, went all those years thinking this was a real king, and it ruined my life. But anyways, I was super obsessed with medieval stuff at the time. I was like, I love the Renaissance fair. I love this. I love learning about knights and the plague. And that was weird. And so I remember sitting down, and it's in a notebook somewhere. I need to find it. But I wrote a story about Lancelot, who was like the best knight of the Round Table in Camelot and stuff, King Arthur's little favorite knight, whatever. But it wasn't just about Lancelot. It was about this girl who was literally in my mind, I was like, 12 is such an old age, so she was like 12 in the story. But it was about her traveling through Camelot with Lancelot and like fighting all these dragons and stuff, and finally making it to Camelot and making it and being a knight of the Round Table. And they're like, you're a woman, you can't be a knight. And she's like, watch me. But I remember looking back, and I described her as native. Like, she had long hair way down past like thigh length, brown hair, brown skin, brown eyes. And I remember like writing lines of like, everyone was staring at her, but she didn't care, like blah, 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 blah. And I always go back and I'm like, oh my God, before I even knew what representation was, or before I even knew that like there was a void that needed to be filled, I was already creating stories that I wanted to see myself in, or that I was yearning to see myself in, because I felt reflected in them. Yep. And I was like, if I could do that as a kid, I can do that now. But if I did that as a kid, that means other Native kids can do that too, because it's there. It just needs to be like unleashed.
Ooh, I like that. It is there and it needs to be unleashed.
It's there.
You Indigenous youth tuning in, it's there. Just let it unleash. I like that. And that's something so interesting, and it's really inspiring to see that from other Indigenous youth all across the board. They're realizing like, hey, that character could be me. What if it was somebody who looked and sounded like me? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah,
and it's true.
Yeah, it was weird because I'm about to like out myself as a whole. Everyone knows I'm a nerd. There's Zuko's mask behind me, but like when I was in middle school, there was like the stage where everyone was into fan fiction before like cancel culture or like cringe culture kind of like took a height, and they were like, fan fiction's weird. When everyone I knew who wasn't even into nerdy stuff was like, ooh, let's write stories about Superman and let's put ourselves in it, blah, 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 blah. But I remember in middle school, every single story I would write, I'd create a separate profile for characters I liked, and I would just like basically like gender bend them or like race bend them, which they were already white, so like it wasn't actually like changing their anything POC. But I would like be like, oh my God, I'm gonna make them Native because that's cool. So I remember doing that distinctly for every single like thing I was into. Literally, even like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like turning the main characters into like natives. And oh my God, I for real remember drawing. I was probably like 8, and I was drawing like Leonardo with like spears instead of like the little katanas. I was like, I'm gonna indigenize these turtles. Like I was already doing
Hey.
that. So I was like desperate for representation.
Oh man, weren't we all, and still fighting for it today? And it's awesome to see. Oh man, the representation is truly the representation fight right now is pretty
Right.
awesome to see.
Yeah.
And it's just that much more awesome to see and more Indigenous storytellers to be uplifted and supporting one another. Now, how did this project of yours come about?
Well, when the trailer dropped, it was Marvel's main account that shared it. So I wasn't originally following any of the artists. I actually still can't find some of the artists. I know that they're on Instagram. I just can't find their page. I'm following like 2, I think. But I had not seen it from like any native creators, any native influencers, anything like that. And so I was scrolling through Marvel's page, the nerd I am, and I'm like, I'm gonna look at the new Black Panther, whatever. And I see this, like, I see a picture of Danny Moonstar. First off, Danny Moonstar, coolest native. She's been around for a long time, and people don't know the hype, but whatever. So I see a picture of her. I'm like, oh, is it a new Danny Moonstar comic? That's so cool. I click on their little square, and it was the trailer for Marvel Indigenous Voices, and I didn't even know it was coming out. And so it was like, oh God, what was the opening line? It was like from Earth's greatest native heroes, and I was like, what is this? And then the music like picked up, and it was the Marvel theme, and it was like and I was like, what is this? And I started crying, and it like freaking Danny Moonstar flies on screen, Echo flies on screen, Silver Fox, and like all the other native superheroes, they're like boo battle poses, and I'm like, oh my God, there's no way. And I remember like taking a screenshot of it, and I put it on my story, and I was like, and I had literally barely 200 followers at the time, so no one was watching my story, but I would like story spammed this, and I was like, there's no way, this is so awesome. And I took a screenshot of it, and I was like, I'm gonna edit this someday. I'm gonna do art based off of this. I'm gonna do something, like, I don't know what, but I'm gonna do something. I'll do like a fan art. I'll audiobook read it for my siblings, whatever. And then it was in the summer, this past summer. So in order to combat the kind of damage COVID has done to the native communities here, so it was so I'm on the Kiowa Comanche Apache reservation here in Oklahoma. But down here we have Comanches, Kiowas, Caddos, Wichitas, Delawares, and Apaches. So all of those tribes basically came together in the summer, and they were like, we need to do something to, like, we need to do like a cultural revitalization thing for the youth. Like it had gotten like for the Kiowa tribe specifically, I can't even count how many like language speakers we lost, elders. I think it was literally 10 within probably like 2 months, like 10 of some of the only fluent Kiowa speakers that were left. So it was insane. But that was happening for all the tribes around us. And so they were like, we need to do something, and we need to target the youth. Like the adults can get on board like later on, but it's the youth who are suffering because of this. And so they got a grant or some type of grant, or they got funding from each of their tribes, and they came together. Actually, it was really cool. They came together and they were like, let's do a 3-week like intensive camp for the youth. And so they ended up doing like stations for each of the youth. They did like cultural foods from specific tribes. Like my mom was a teacher for the camp, and so her little segment was Kiowa language and like foods of the Kiowas pre-colonization. So like berries, fish, that type of stuff. And then my mom and one of the other mentors came up to me, and they were like, do you want to teach like a course or something? I was like, I don't know what I teach. Yeah, I guess. They're like, you could teach them poetry, you could teach them how to write something. And I'm like, oh my God, I have the perfect idea. And I went back to the trailer and I took a screenshot and I sent it to my friend Josh, and I was like, can you animate this for me? And he was like, for what? And I was like, I have an amazing idea. And he's like, well, what's the idea? And I was like, I want to put together, because this is how the project actually started, I want to put together a really short like animation of the entire comic to show the kids that there's like native superheroes, and we're going to learn how to use your culture as a superpower. So the course was basically like getting all these native kids, sitting them down. We have like piece of paper on the wall, and it's like, what do you count as a superpower? And they're like, kindness, bravery, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, but you know what else is a superpower? Culture. We dove into the whole thing. And they're like, that's so cool. So then I gave them a piece of paper and I was like, I want you to design your own superhero. Okay. And they have to have 2 superpowers, 1 trait you admire, and you have to design a costume and they need a name. And I was just like, do it. No limitations though. You just go do it. But while they were doing that, I was showing the few animations that Josh had gotten done. So I think it was like, I don't have it with me, but it was like Danny Moonstar, like she was like kicking a guy in the face, and like we only had like 6 or 7 like stills, which took a lot of time. Animation takes a lot of time. And so that's all we had, so I didn't get to do the whole comic, but I put together like a PowerPoint of the superheroes that were in Marvel Indigenous Voices, but also the other superheroes within Marvel. Some of them, there's a lot. And I was like, guys, you don't just make native superheroes. Look, they already exist, and like they're here and they're in Marvel. And look, this one knows Spider-Man, and this one hates Captain America, but this one's best buddies with Tony Stark. Like they're cool. And they're like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. And then after that, like they got up and they presented their superheroes, and it was like the range of creativity that these kids had. I was like, they're gonna write comic books. Like, oh my gosh, this one kid had one named Bean Man, and his power was like being like a red kidney bean. And his best friend was Fry Bread. He was Kidney Bean and Fry Bread, and they fought evil together. And I was like, oh my god,
yes.
Yeah, I was like, that's my superhero. That's my native bread right there. And so, but after that, I gave them like superhero masks that we got from like Party City or something, and capes, and I was like, okay, now you're the native superhero. And then we like played games, and we were like playing ninja, and we were battling, and then they took the capes home, and I was like, take this with you, young Padawan, like do what you will with these. I've fit you with what I know, go on. But I remember sitting down like after that camp was over, and I was like, this is what I like. I was like, that was it. I was like, I found my little center. Like that is what it is. And then it was like a few weeks later after that, I was like, Josh, I want to animate the whole thing. And he was like, what? That's insane. What are you talking? It's just us. People think there's a team behind this. It's just me and Josh. So he's like, what? How are we going to do this? I'm like, we're going to get it done. It's going to be great. So, and that was back in like July of 2020. So it's been that many months in the making before I was even ready to come out and say, hey, here's an idea. Here's proof of concept that I have it, but also here's proof that I have an amazing animator that is capable of doing it. And here's proof that I'm doing it for the right reasons, that I want to actually put something out that all of Native youth and all of Indian country can enjoy. And it's for the Native people. Like, y'all, I'm not going to hire white actors to do it. Like, it's not going to be a white dude coming in and playing Trigo. Like, hello, Trigo. I am from. Yeah, literally. How? Like that. I'm like, we're not doing that. So that's initially, that's how it like kicked off too.
Oh man, this project sounds that much cooler and cooler. You heard it here, folks. Make sure you get involved. Support one another. That's what this platform's all about. Uplifting and showcasing some wicked cool people, man, and what they're doing. That's my hats off to you. I love it. Kidney Man and Fry
Bread. Oh gosh.
Shout out to the youth who created that. That's my hero.
Shout out to the youth. I was like, can we get this on a shirt, please? Like, someone get this. He was cool too. He had a cool bow and arrow, but it wasn't like tacky. He looked like Hawkeye. He was like, he had a little frown, and I was like, what? And he was just a bean. Like, he didn't have a face, just a frown. Like a red kidney bean and some fry bread. No,
that's cool. Guy, if you're watching this, message me. I gotta get you on the show. That's pretty cool. I gotta see what this looks like for myself. That's two beasts. Now, being the young Indigenous nerd that you are, what is it that just captures you about all these different storytellers? You know, we can see that you're a prominent fan of Avatar. See the blue spirit mask, and that looks like different scenes from Avatar on the wall.
There's Coda from Brother Bear up there.
You got Coda from Brother Bear.
Coda.
Coda.
You're sure your mom didn't ditch you, Coda? Oh.
Now, what is it in these different stories that just gravitate you to them?
I think it's the ability to like do something insane, and that like people have the potential to not just like create the stories but also to make worlds. Like I've people underestimate like the importance of making a world. Like someone sat down, well their names are Brian and Mike, but someone sat down and created this entire world where people can bend fire and water, and there's different cultures within this world, and you know they weren't always represented the greatest, but you know whatever. And like they created this world just for the sake of creating it, but then they put it out, and in turn you inspire people with the stories that you put out. So it's like you're not just creating worlds, you're creating people's ability to make worlds for themselves too. Like it's just, I don't even know if it's like escapism. I've had literal grown adults tell me like, you are too invested in these comic book stuff, and I'm like, you need to go sit down. Like it's fine. I really do. It's just, it's something that like it transcends like what I think sucks about being a human sometimes. Like I mean, especially like Native people, like we're no strangers to struggle, not just in our past, but dealing with the repercussions of all of that stuff as Native people today. Even like going into the realm of like visual sovereignty, which isn't just like taking our likeness and our image back as like reclamation, but like facing literal racism through imagery. So like, you know, like the Washington team, Kansas City Chiefs, stuff like that. It visual sovereignty like transcends all like realm of media and imagery. So it's like we're no strangers to struggle, and I think that it's not such a bad thing to be able to find solace in stories that make you feel invincible or give you comfort from the things that hurt.
Yeah, I like that. It's not escapism, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not escapism.
It's just,
I was like, I have a healthy connection. I have a healthy connection to this life. No, yeah. I feel like it makes things like, I mean, this is getting kind of like deep into like more like generational trauma type of stuff. But I mean, I don't think anyone out there is blind to the fact that, you know, it's hard to break cycles of trauma within family. It's hard to open up and say, like, as a Native, I'm sure like you've faced it too. Like Native men have always been historically like, you protect the tribe, you protect the women, you don't show emotion because you're the protectors of the tribe. It's hard to open up to your family about questions you have about trying to like navigate problems sometimes. I mean, not every family's like that, but it is there. And my family's been very open with stuff like that. I feel like I can talk to my family, but at the same time, it's not in my nature to be very open. Sometimes it takes a little like coaxing from people to be like, you can tell me stuff. Like if you're having trouble with something, you can tell me. But it's like, I always kind of, when I was younger, especially, I was like, who's someone I look up to? And I'm like, oh, Wonder Woman. What would Wonder Woman do in this situation? She would tell me, don't be mean to that person. Don't be mean back, because your kindness will come around like in a circle. Like you serve others because it's right. Like what would this cool dude Bruce Wayne do? He would say, hey, we do what it's right because it's right, and that's the only reason we need. And it's okay to feel pain as long as you don't let it consume you and make you bad. Like just stuff like that. Like there's so many life lessons you can learn from outside sources that help you along the way too. And like I said, like navigating those family cycles is hard enough on your own. So I don't think it's like bad to have things that inspire you and make you feel good and make you feel seen, and like advice from fictional characters. Like someone human sat behind a screen or in front of a pen or in front of a paper, and they wrote those words. They wrote that like with their human emotions too. Like they know what you're going through.
And that's the importance of, you know, all these indigenous narrative tellers, storytellers. It's because, you know, a lot of young people, especially indigenous people, they look up to these stories, these narratives, and they put themselves with these characters in this world that somebody else created, and that's what's beauty. That's the beauty of it. And again, like you mentioned before, as indigenous peoples, we're no stranger to struggle. Ain't that, and that's the truth. But the fact that another youth can look at somebody else's art, somebody else's creation, and say, that person did it. I can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's
Yeah.
about. Yeah. Now, how and what is your involvement with Center for Native?
Cine, that's my crew. Shout out to the Cine aunties. Shout out to Jen and Nikki and Cheyenne K, soon to be she's no longer an intern, Cheyenne K. Congratulations, girl. And Kyra, thanks Kyra. Hi Cine. No, they're probably not even watching. But
who knows? Who knows?
So how did I stumble? My uncle, he worked at one of the state universities here. And this was when I was a junior. No, it was a senior, and it was right before COVID hit. I had gotten an email from him, and he was like the tribal liaison. So he would take opportunities that were sent to the colleges and send them out to youth all across Indian country. And he sent me this one, and it was like CC'd to like 100 other kids. And it was like full scholarship study, Columbia University, like fine arts program. My baby brother's crying. Oh. I have 5 siblings. That's Native if I've ever heard it.
I got 4. Yeah, I got 3.
I got a bunch of cousins though. They don't count. Right now they don't count.
The truth. Wait, let's revert that back. They do
They're
count.
They're gonna text me mad. They're like, what do you mean I don't count?
I know, that's why I said, oh wait, revert that back.
What'd you say? No, but he sent it to me, and I opened up the email. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ooh, this sounds cool. And it was basically Center for Native Youth at the Aspen Institute putting out a call that was saying, hey, all Native youth, like if you are ages, I don't know, well, it was like 17 to 24. It wasn't that. It was like if you're a high school or a junior in high school to like the freshman year of college. Yeah. If you're that age range and you apply to this, we will completely fund a summer like learning program at Columbia University in New York City in the subject of your choice. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And then full disclosure, at the time I had some internet friends in New York City at the time. So I was like, I want to go if I get this, I get to go see them in New York City. Like, that's so cool. But also I was like, oh, Columbia, like that sounds cool. I've heard stuff about Columbia, but like, it'll be cool. And I was like, what the heck, let's just apply. And I sent in my photo, sent in my little resume, a transcript, letters of recommendations. And I remember for my essay, it was like, describe a memory you have and a dream for Native youth in the future. And I started it out as like a memory of me and my grandpa riding in a truck, like driving through the res. Mm-hmm. And I like did this whole like storytelling thing. I was like, it's this memory that keeps me going as like a storyteller, blah, 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 blah. And then I got a call. I sent it in. I was like, I'm not going to get it. I got a call like a month or 2 months later. And it was Jen Peacock from Center for Native Youth. And she was like, hi. Oh, no, this is funny. She called and I didn't answer. I was like, ooh, it's the government. They're going to get me. It was a DC number because Center for Native Youth is in DC. I'm like, they found me. They're going to get me. And so I go, and she had left a voicemail, and it was like, hi, my name is Jen. I'm from the Center for Native Youth. Like, I'd like to call you and talk to you regarding your application. And I'm like, oh. So I called her back immediately, and she was like, oh my gosh, Lily. And I was like, yes. I'm like kind of shy sometimes when I first meet people. I'm like, yeah, it's Lily. She's like, oh my gosh, we loved your application. She was like, truthfully, your application made us cry. Like, the essay you wrote was so beautiful. And I was like, are you serious? Like, still talking super slow. I'm like, are you for real? And she's like, yeah, we'd love to offer you this scholarship and this opportunity. And I put the phone down, and I was like, ah! Like, I screamed so loud. And my mom didn't know I had applied for this. She was like, what? And I was like, I get to go to New York. And she was like, what? And I was like, I got a scholarship. And she was like, what? And so from then on, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And Jen was like, we're here for you. We're the Center for Native Youth. I'm like, what is the Center for Native Youth? And she's like, and I like explored their page more. I was like, oh, they're awesome. Like, this is cool. COVID ended up happening, and then I didn't get to go to New York. I ended up doing it online, but I now have like a certificate degree of creative writing from Columbia.
Ooh.
So that's fun. But that's how I got started with Cine. But it was last year they launched their Remembering Our Sisters Fellowship to raise awareness through digital arts for missing and murdered Indigenous women. And I applied for that. Again, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get this. This is so insane. I was like, I don't know the first thing about like, I was like, I know policy. I know how to debate people, but I don't know like congressional policy. I don't know how to go up and be like, here too, we say that you need to pay attention. Like, I was like, ugh. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pour like what I feel into the application. And like part of the application was doing like a video. And I did the application. I wrote my essays, letters of recommendation. And then I did the video for it. And it was like a 2-minute long, like what I value about this movement. And it was, and I remember I put in like pictures of like all of the women from the time I was little until now who have like impacted me, and they're all Native women. And I was like, it was like, and it's them, like this is the reason the movement is like such a big thing. And then again, sent it in, and I sent it in the night it was due, and I was like, I'm not gonna get this, is crazy. They probably didn't even get my application. Call again a month later, and it's the executive director of Cine this time, Nikki, and she's like, Lily, your video made us burst into tears. And I was like, and so that's how I got the Remembering Our Sisters Fellowship with Cine. And then since then, I've done a few like Generation Indigenous takeovers. I went to an AIM rally for Native youth and did a cover of that. I went to the state capitol and did takeovers for that. And then, yeah. So like just the general team. But like Cine is one of those organizations where, because it's like Native led, it's Native women led, it's very much like an auntie to a nephew or a niece or a daughter type of relationship with people. Oh, Dr. Kip, I forgot Dr. Kip. Hi, Dr. Kip. God dang it. My auntie. No. But anyways, but it's very like nurturing. And like I applied for like a fellowship recently with them, and I didn't end up getting it. But even in the email back where they were like, not this time. Like, next time try again, like just not right now. And I'm like, okay, but still it was like, but we still want to champion you because you are a youth, and we value you, and we value what you bring to the table, and like we know that like you have like the potential to just be great for Indian country. And they say that to all youth because they mean it. So it's like Cine overall is just like they're great. So that's how I got involved with Cine.
Hey, shout outs to Cine.
Shout out to Cine.
Yeah, shout out to
It was so funny. My mom thought I've been working with the CNAs this whole time. The Cheyenne and Arapahoes. She's like, what are you doing with the CNAs? And I'm like, no, CNA. And she's like, what about the CNAs? I'm like, Mom, Center for Native Youth, not Cheyenne and Arapahoes. She's like, oh.
Hey, shout out to the Cheyenne.
Shout out to the CNAs too. I got some cousins from the CNAs. Hi.
But you do count, cousins. You do count.
But you count, cousins. Oh, that's funny.
Yes. And again, it's just, being involved. It's putting yourself in those spaces to help others. And that's what something I always tell the youth, everybody tuning in, is you sometimes just gotta push yourself to do it. Put yourself in that position.
Sometimes I say this to my sisters, and the fellowship also, like in general advocacy, it's like really hard to be in a space, especially with MMIW stuff. It's hard to talk about stuff like that, but also that fellowship for a long time, it was literally just hearing stories about MMIW from like family members of MMIW or police officers or like congressional people. So people telling us full on, this is what we saw when we went out and we looked for, this MMIW, and like, this is how it's affected me, and this is why it's such a big thing. But because of that, it's really forming like a strong sisterhood with your other MMIW advocates, not just in the fellowship, but like all over, like just like people I've met through this fellowship. It's really become like a sisterhood united against MMIW stuff. But I told them too, we had a meeting in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to present our projects from the fellowship. And it was Dr. Kip, and she was like, they always say like, you can't give from an empty medicine bag. Like you can't give unless you're refilling stuff for yourself, unless you're like reminding yourself of stuff that you value and like what people want for you. And she was like, I want us to do this exercise where we say one thing that we've taken from this experience, but we also want to give something back to our sisters and give back to the community. And I remember I went up there and I was bawling my eyes out, and I was like, I have taken like love from this. I feel so loved by my fellow Native women. Like, you've taught me so much, like, blah, you know, the whole thing. But then I was also like, but what I want to give you is not fearlessness, but the ability to not let fear hold you back. Because as a Native youth, it's not just hard, and it feels impossible sometimes, but it's really, really difficult to step into predominantly white spaces, or spaces that are dominated by just like non-Native people in general too. And so it's like the fear from that can not only just hold you back, but the fear of failing and being like, oh, I knew that, like, I wasn't in that type of space for a reason. Like, there's a reason Native people aren't in that space, and it's because, like, I wasn't good enough, or like we weren't good enough to like make the cut, blah 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 blah. And so it's like I feel like the pinnacle of all creativity is getting past that point of fear, where it's literally just like, oh my God, close your eyes and just like step off the cliff, like Indiana Jones style, like, oh God, what the heck am I doing? And there's literally, I look at times in my life when I've done this too, I'm like, this is insane. What did I get myself into? That was when I was running. I ran for Miss Indian Oklahoma, and I got runner up. No, but I remember it was like it was the girl in front of me who was about to go on stage. And it was just tribal introductions. It wasn't the presentation or anything. It was just the part where you go on stage and you say, hi, I'm Lily, and I'm from the Kiowa tribe, and I am proud to be here. I'm proud to represent Native country. And I was standing on the wings, and I was like, what did I get myself into? I was like, I was so dumb to think that I could come out here with these pageant girls and like get on this stage, and that I could get in front of all of these people, and that I knew how to talk in front of a crowd and like pageantry. I'm not a pageant girl. I was like, I didn't grow up as a pageant girl. Like, you know, I was like letting all these stuff influence me. And then I was like, you know what? I was like, you are being a hypocrite. Fear over failure, fear, like whatever, just go do it. So I stepped out on the stage, and I was like, hi, my name is Lily, and I'm from the Kiowa tribe, you know, and then I did the whole pageant. And afterwards I was like, I cannot believe that I did that. Like, I did not want to do that initially. Like, I wanted to do it, and then I got to the point of fear where I was like, this is crazy. Why did I do this? And then afterwards, I was like, I grew from this tremendously. I was like, and even if I didn't get it, I just proved that I could do it. Yep. So it's like, don't be afraid to step into those spaces because of failure, or just because of like fear in general. Like, the only way you grow is by pushing yourself to the limits, which involves fear sometimes. So
I like that. Yeah, don't be afraid, you guys. It does take that little bit. You think I'm not nervous? You don't think I'm scared to jump on this live?
I was like, you think I wasn't sweating? I'm not sweating right now. It's probably because it's hot. But at the beginning, I was nervous, sweating a little bit. I was like, I don't have a big like following, and I remember I hit 1,000. That was my only goal for this year. I was like, I want to hit 1,000 followers, because I've been trying to hit 1,000 for so long. And in the big like influencer scale of things, 1,000 isn't a lot, but to me, who had 200 consecutively just for 4 years straight on my personal, like 200 followers, I'm like 1,000. And within like 2 seconds of posting the Marvel thing, I hit 1,000, and I was like, and then like you asked me on the show, I was like, I'm not, no, like I don't have, it was crazy. Like, no.
Don't, you might not see it, but
oh goodness,
people, you know, they do put you in that light, and they do see you in that manner. So it wasn't just me.
That's the insane thing too. I told my mom this. She did also. I need to start telling my mom the projects I'm doing. She always ends up finding out through random people who are in, like, someone from like the Navajo. One of her Navajo friends will text her, and they'll be like, I saw your daughter on YouTube, and she's like, what? They're like, I saw your daughter on YouTube, and she's great. And she's like, what was she on YouTube for? She's like, oh, she won this award. And my mom was like, what? But anyways, that's how she was with the fellowship, or not the fellowship, the Marvel thing too. Within that day that I posted it, and I don't know if it was Quanah Chasing Horse who blew it up. I don't know if it was some of the Res Dog cast that reposted it that blew it up. Someone blew it up somewhere. And I literally, within like that day, like 100 emails just for the part of Julian, which has barely any lines. And people who read the comic knew that, but they still wanted to be a part of it. And so I was like, oh my gosh. But here's the interesting thing too. This is what I love about Native people too. And this is what Dr. Kip says too. Whenever we go in a space, we introduce ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we say, like, oh, this is my name, but more importantly, this is where I come from. This is my tribe, this is my clan, this is my nation, and I'm proud to represent them. Every single audition, every single email inquiring about that was, hi, my name is something, I am from this tribe. People introducing themselves in their written language, and then at the end being like, at your earliest convenience, I'd love to audition for this part. I hope Creator blesses you. Like, thank you. So I was like, it's Native people being awesome Native people, and like showing up and like realizing that they want to be like a part of something cool. And even like a few DMs I got, I was like near tears. I was like, oh my God. It was people like I can't act worth a dang. I suck at acting, but I just want to let you know that I cried when I saw your post. Like, it made me cry. And I was like, they're like, I've wanted this for so long as like a Native youth. I want my daughters to see this as a Native girl. I want my kids to grow up in a world where Native superheroes like a whole thing. And I'm like, oh my God. And then kind of like also hitting the moment where I was like, I'm the one doing this. I was like, I'm the one people are like looking to. Oh my God. I was like, that's crazy. Wasn't ready. I was like, wasn't quite ready, but I will do it. Cause yeah.
You done did it. You said you were gonna do it. Now here you go.
Yeah, I was like, there's no going back. Josh texted me and he was like, what did you get us into? I was like, because Miss Moana herself, Miss Ali'i Cravalio, liked my little post and then slid up on my story and was like, tap tap, and she liked it, and I was like, what? I was like, Moana, I'm gonna do you proud. I was like, you did us proud. Now you're gonna see it. It's gonna be great. He was like, Moana saw this. Do you realize what you've gotten us into? I'm like, yes, and we're gonna do it.
Greatness. That's what you got us into.
I've gotten us into greatness.
The doors will be wide open.
Yeah.
Oh man, and that's awesome to hear. Man, shout out to Native people, Indian country all around.
Shout out to Indian country. Y'all did that. You got it to Ali'i. Not me. I had 500 followers. It was everyone sharing that. Yeah, my little 500. It went from 200. It went from 200 to 500 that day, and I was like, oh wow, I got to 500. I thought that was the jump. I didn't think I'd hit 1,000. 200 to 500 was the jump, and I was like, wow, 500. And it was everyone circulating that got it to literally Ali'i Cravalio, who probably showed The Rock, and she was like, what's up, Dwayne? She was like, look at this, look at these Native kids, they're doing such cool stuff. He's like, that was good.
It's about pride. It's about power.
Yeah, it's about pride. It's about power.
Hey, shout out to The Rock.
Shout out to The Rock.
Just shout outs to Indian country all across the board. Yes.
Shout out to the Native folks.
Ain't that the truth? Now, this next question's gotta be, I just gotta know, out of all of narrative worlds, literature worlds, fantasy, fiction, you name it, what world would you want to live in?
Let's see. I've thought long and hard about this and I still don't have an answer. Probably not because of everything behind me, because I'm like, oh, I'm an Avatar fan. Probably Avatar, because I really love the fact that like those have like inherent culture within them. And I really do. I'm like, any fantasy world, I'm taking it with me. I was like, I'm not whitewashing myself so I can live in like Hunger Games or something, whatever. Probably Avatar. I like the idea of like spirituality too in the Avatar. It like calms me. I don't know why. Like it's just very calming to me. I'm like, Aang, you're cool. You're 12 and you're cool. But like we'll be friends. I was like, I want like it just be there's a big realm of like travel within there. Like everyone has powers, and if you don't, it's like you meet these amazing people and it's an amazing story and like bending and like the cultural connection to everything and the elements. I think like, not to be like a stereotypical Native, but like connection to nature is like so beautiful to me. And like the idea of like drawing it from the elements and like having that be like a lifestyle, like I really, that's so cool. So probably Avatar.
All right, Avatar. Okay. Now, what nation in Avatar?
I want to say Water Tribe because of obvious reasons. I'm not Inuit, but it's the closest thing. But probably Fire Nation. I did this with my
Hey.
Hogwarts houses too. I was like, I wish I was nice. I wish I was a Hufflepuff, but truly, I'm like full grit, like Gryffindor, Slytherin, like blend. No, but like probably Fire Nation. I admire like the
Hey.
grit, and like when Iroh was like, he's drawing in the sand, and he's like,
Oh, yep.
the Fire Nation is, God, what did he say? I don't know. He's like the Fire Nation. Like he was listing off what qualities come with the Fire Nation,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, that's me. I wish I was an Earth. I wish I was Earth and like, I wish I was an air that could be like super calm and mellow and like people flock to be given wisdom and like comfort. But no, I'm probably like Fire Nation, like down deep. People are like, Lily, I have a problem, and I'm like, I got it.
Passion. It's passion.
Like, yeah, it's yeah. So probably Fire Nation. Why? What about you?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm Avatar. Duh.
I've had so many dreams. I've had so many dreams of being the Avatar. It's not even funny. Like, oh, my dreams of me being the Avatar have gone back many, many, many years. Like, woo.
Yep. Cheíí Avatar over here.
Cheíí
Got
Avatar.
all elements in the palm of my hand.
I don't sound like a cool Avatar though. Someone was like, Avatar Lily. I sound like it makes me sound like an avatar that's like the avatar of flowers. I'm like, no. They're like, oh, Avatar Lily's coming. And they're like, who? They don't sound that bad. I'm like, great. That's great.
Yes, I'm a big Avatar fan over at the house, and hearing the Indiana Jones reference, I was like, oh my god, this is my favorite episode now.
I've had to stop myself. There's so many references. Oof.
Oh man. Could go on for hours, but
yeah, it just turns into a nerd podcast. Nerdy native.
But it's the whole seeing yourself and hearing the same thing in these different narratives. And that's one thing my family and I, we really enjoy about Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about balance.
It's also about like, I find, especially like, ooh, the feedback is back. Hold on, messing myself up. Like connecting with the story of like, and this is as I got older, I really noticed this, but like connecting with the story of Aang and his like entire nation being essentially wiped out, and like feeling like that episode where he's with Monk Gyatso. Was that him? No, he was with Guru Patik. He was with that guy, and he was like trying to unlock all his chakras.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, you have to let go of this guilt that you don't even know you have. Mm-hmm. Like they're your ancestors, and they know that like you are still here and that you're still trying your best. And I watched that when Avatar got like a bunch of hype on TikTok, like summer 2020. I watched the episode and I was like, oh my god, don't do that. That's not okay. Yeah. But as a kid, I was just like, oh, that's cool. He's gonna unlock the chakras, like woo. But then as like a grown like native woman, I'm like, oh my god. I was like, I feel that way sometimes. Like guilt sometimes, like how I don't understand how like I've been born in like this era where essentially everything is not handed to me, but like in a modern way handed to me. I don't have to like hunt for every food I have. I'm not being horribly like forced and like removed from my homeland. Like I live in a house with AC. I'm not dying from exposure, and it's like grappling with that as a native youth too was hard to like initially, as like kind of reconciling like where you are now in your life with like where your ancestors have been, and kind of coming to terms with the fact that not only are they okay with like where you're at and like championing you from the other world, but they specifically like prayed for you to be at a spot where you're at now. And just like when they were in their moment of hardships being like, I don't know what's going to happen to me, but I know that in the future I am envisioning this person, and I want them to do great things, and I want them to do this. And I know they do this because our elders now and our parents now, I've heard them, they're praying for that for 3 generations out. Yep. Going to like peyote meetings or stuff, like hearing some of my grandpas being like he will be full on talking about my children's children. Like, I want them to do great in school. I want them to have a safe life. I want them to have traveling mercies, like driving in cars. Like, who thinks about driving in cars 3 generations from now? So like, I know that it's like within our heritage, to know that like our ancestors have like wanted us to be at the point where we're at right now.
Exactly. And again, I guess that's just the beauty of Indigenous people. We're able to see all these
Mm-hmm.
different things. Not only are Indigenous people's fan of Avatar, shout outs
Yeah.
to previous guest, Kay Haven. She was
Yay.
an Indigenous artist who um, put Indigenous peoples in Avatar drawing format. But, we also put ourselves in Star Wars. We see ourselves in Marvel. We see ourselves
Mm-hmm.
in all these other different fantasy worlds, and it's just so cool. It's because of that connection. And again, it's pretty darn cool about
Yeah.
Indigenous people. Indian people. But we gotta move on. We could go on, but all right, now, ladies and gentlemen, for you folks who've stuck around with us since the very beginning of this episode, it's your turn, you, the viewers, to ask the question. Just go on ahead, type in the comments section below, right down here. Ms. Painter, while we wait for these individuals to do so, I asked this question to all the guests. This question, I've been told, has started fights, ruined relationships, and has even had individuals call me on my personal cell. I don't know how you guys get my personal cell at 3 and 2 a.m. in the morning asking for an answer. If there is an answer, I don't want to know it. But my question to you is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Can I ask why?
It's not a sandwich.
Why?
Sandwich has to have 2 pieces of bread. A hot dog is 1 piece of bread folded over. I barely consider footlongs from Subway a sandwich. Like, subs are like weird to me. Subs are like, here's sandwiches that you eat them with like Kamad cheese and stuff, like sandwiches. And then you have like subs who are like, they're like a subdivision, like a cousin of sandwiches. So no, hot dogs are not a sandwich. They are, if anything, they're closer to a sub than like a sandwich.
Final answer?
Yep. No, they're not. Not the final answer.
No, they are not.
I thought you were going to ask me if you call it corn soup or Indian corn.
I've never even heard of that.
I was like, it's Indian corn.
I'm going to have to
corn
remember
soup.
that one. It's Indian corn.
It's Indian corn, not corn soup.
Deadly.
Deadly.
I like it. Oh, man. We got our first question in the comments section, and it says, what are some things that we need to keep our eye open for? I like that.
From me?
Like,
or like from for like modern media or stuff?
I'm not too sure. I guess maybe you got some new projects in the way that we don't know about.
Well, how much do I want to say on this? Evan, I know Evan's watching this. So initially the idea was to start like a pod. I am going to start a podcast. I don't know what specifically it will be yet because I'm still narrowing it down, just trying to figure out like background stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I will be starting a podcast. That's a thing. But it will be a part of a bigger collective, I guess, that I'm trying to create, which is, I don't want to give the name away yet, but it's kind of just like a collective for like native youth or like creative natives to like submit their creativity, or kind of just like a database, I guess, for championing people's artistic creativity, like how you get started in specific stuff, like resources for how to like embark on your creative adventures, but also kind of just like the branding for what I kind of want to do in the future. Mm-hmm. I kind of want like this company's like, well, not company, collective, I guess. I want like the brand and the logo on the Marvel thing too. Like as an intro, it's like you hear the Marvel music in the background and then the logo flashes through because it's a part of like this fan collective thing I'm trying to do. Like that's something soon. It's like digital collective, I guess. Not giving the name away yet because it's so good, but it's But the logo is one of our like traditional mythical creatures, so it's cool. I'm drawing way back, like old. We barely have a word for these creatures back in like our history to like get inspiration for this thing. So it's cool. Marvel, Indigenous Voices. I'm gonna start the YouTube. I'm gonna need to post more stuff on YouTube. because I talk to my camera daily and just don't post it anywhere because I'm a freak and I talk to myself. But as for like stuff to watch out for, y'all know Maya Lopez is getting her own show. Echo from Hawkeye, she's getting her own show and it's gonna be great. She's getting a spinoff. Amazing. So get Disney Plus for that. Not sponsored. Not sponsored by the mouse.
I was gonna say, wait,
not sponsored.
Hold on.
The mouse don't like us sometimes, but we're gonna change that.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
The mouse has a vendetta against us.
Yeah, but it's not the mouse who's making these narratives. It's what's his face? Oh, what's Marvel? Who's head of Marvel? Oh, I can't remember. The main guy.
I don't know.
Marvel.
The comics
movies.
is not on my comics. Oh, Bob Iger? No, that's Disney.
No. This is gonna bug me.
I was gonna say Stan Lee, but rest in peace, my guy.
Shout outs to Stan Lee, man.
Shout out to Stan Lee.
Ain't that the truth?
Coming into the arena, Stan Lee. Brother Stan.
Mr. Lee.
Mr. Lee.
Mr. Lee. Kevin Feige. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
It's up to Kevin Feige, who's gonna likes Indigenous peoples.
Kevin, we'll talk. No.
Yeah. Kevin, if you get a hold of this, I'm just kidding.
Kevin, I got some stuff to know.
Shoot, yeah, Kevin, if you get a hold of, got some stuff.
Come here.
All right, it looks like we don't have any questions down in the comment section below. That's all right. It looks like we covered all bases. Ms. Painter, if there's anything else you want to mention, some shout outs, last word remarks, time is yours.
I would like to say to Native youth, don't be afraid to enjoy nerdy stuff. And don't be afraid to keep enjoying nerdy stuff into your 20s and your 30s and your 40s and your 50s and your 60s and your 70s and your 80s and your 90s and your 100s. Because professionalism was made up as a colonial concept. And anyone who tries to tell you that you can't enjoy stories and enjoy things that make you happy as a kid and that fuel your inner child, those standards were not set by people like you. They were set by white people who are trying to crush their own creativity. Don't listen to them. And you have the ability to enjoy those stories however you want and to create your own stuff inspired by those stories. It's in there.
Hey, a baby eagle was born right there.
A baby eagle was born. I heard him cry from the mountains.
Exactly.
He was like, ah!
Yeah, you just heard it. Oh, man. Ancestors are high-fiving in the back. Creators looking down going, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, we have a question that slipped in the comment section if you don't mind. You down with it? Down with it? All right.
Yeah. I can't see the comments, but okay.
The question states, is it now a mission for you to have a fully Indigenous comic stories?
Like making my own comics as a story or like animating all of the Marvel Indigenous comic stories?
Answer both.
For one, I have tried with all of my might to be an artist. I have tried to draw. I have tried to make comic book characters. There was a time in middle school where I was getting there. Then I quit and I was like, no. So I don't think I'll be illustrating any comics anytime soon, but I would love to write one and have someone draw it. I would love to write a legitimate Marvel comic and have someone from Marvel be like, we like that. I would love that comic to turn into a movie, to turn into a series, to turn into action figures. And I want to see Native little kids cosplaying my character. But maybe for that. But I have been thinking long and hard about like the rest of the Marvel. They're not Indigenous Voices comics because it's part of the Marvel Voices like series. It's not just Native based. But there is one that just came out, and it's the Heritage series, the Marvel Voices Heritage, which is more Native superheroes with a lot more parts. And I was like, So if this project goes well, possibly. I would love to, because I wish I could give every single Native person who sent me an email a part. Because legitimately, some of them are very, very good, like very good actors. And they're like, I've never acted in my life. And I hear their tape and I'm like, Are you sure? For real?
The lies you
So
tell.
I was like, I wish I could give every native person a part, and I hope that Marvel keeps writing more stories so I could keep animating them and then keep giving more people different parts. Because yeah,
Hey.
or just making new stuff. I'd love to help other people make the comics. People who can draw. If you can draw, hit me up because I can't. And then we'll make a comic, or we'll teach people how to make comics. So that's that.
Hey. Ain't that the truth? Shout outs to all the artists out there. I know there's a lot of Indigenous artists out there. Hit her up, hit her up. Messages, collab, make those connections. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Hey, my momager says Taylor Cheíí Begay needs a part. She. Nope.
You can, yeah, you can read like some of the stuff in the beginning. We'll find a part for you somewhere. I need an MC. I'm pretty sure there's an MC in this one. I swear, unless I misread it, I'm like,
hey, who knows? Marvel,
who
hit me up.
knows?
Who knows? Oh, now you guys want to ask questions?
Keep them coming.
All right. The next question says, any advice on best ways to pursue your dream?
Start. The
Wow.
hardest part is genuinely starting. You're not going to pursue it at all unless you actually start at a point and be like, oh my, okay, so let's pretend your dream is cooking the best hamburger in the entire world. If you don't actually go out and buy the meat and the buns and the lettuce and the cheese, you're not going to get started making hamburgers. You're going to sit on your laptop and look up how to make hamburgers for literally months straight. So it's literally just the hardest part is starting and getting over that initial hurdle of like what's keeping me from trying to pursue my dreams. And again, going back to what I said earlier, a lot of it is like fear based on like either no one's ever done this before or these spaces are really exclusive and they don't want us there. Kind of like drawing back on like the inherent strength that we both talked about, like who prayed for you to be in the parts that you're in right now. You've been predestined to not only like live this life, but to live it well and do something great with it. Mm-hmm. And you have like the free will to like go out a strong people and a strong culture, and you have the ability to pursue your dreams and like you can do it. So just start. Like pros and cons lists, just start.
Just start. Again, I tell you, man, another eagle just right there.
We're birthing new eagles. We're gonna revitalize the bald eagle population in America.
Hey, the bald eagle.
We're saving the eagles.
Yes.
We're eagle savers.
Hey, in Dana, my first clan is eagle, so already eagle
Mine's
people.
Bear. Mine's Bear, but solidarity with the eagle.
I'm
there for you.
Bear and eagle are like the biggest clan. So hey,
I was like, we're good.
A relative high five.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh man, you guys. All right. Questions? Any more? No? Yes? Okay. Well then, Ms. Painter, thank you so much for accepting the invite to the Cheíí Show. Thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom and sharing your story most of all. You guys already know I'm going to put all of Ms. Painter's tags, accounts, links in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Hey. Give a big old virtual round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Put your left hand and your right hand together real fast for Lily Painter. Man, I advise you guys, I encourage you guys to take advantage of all of this knowledge, all these words of encouragement. Take care of it and utilize what's been given to you. Just start. I like that. Just start. I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna end with that being said. Don't forget to mask up, social distance, and wash your hands, you guys. This has been the Cheíí Show. Have a good night. Peace.